Donald Trump is unwell, and it seems to be the case that cognitively he's rapidly, frighteningly, stunningly deteriorating. And I want to talk about that. I want to start with a video that was put together by MeidasTouch, and it is funny. On this type of topic, as I've said before, it's sort of awkward because you have the serious stuff, and then you have these compilations of glitches of Trump or videos like the one you're about to watch that sort of are more lighthearted. But I think we can do both. Acknowledge the more lighthearted stuff, mock such a dangerous figure, and also have a more serious conversation about how bad it would be to have a president who is suffering in the way it seems Trump is. And we'll get to this report that is just an absolute bombshell that I've been wanting to talk about, that goes through hundreds of experts have signed on to a Trump dementia petition, which is rare. You understand, people speaking out publicly in these sorts of professions, but signing their name to this petition to warn the American people about what's going on with Trump's brain. And this is something, especially with the right-wing attacks against Biden, that does not get enough attention, and it should. So we'll get to that shocking report. But first, let's have a little bit of fun. A video, like I said, was put together by MeidasTouch. Credit to them. Always doing fantastic work. And you have this.
And my stupid people, when I wanted to refute it, they said, "Sir, don't dignify it with a rebuttal."
Have you been noticing peculiar behavior recently in someone you know?
Carried out by
Someone who mixes fiction and reality?
the late great Hannibal Lecter. He's a wonderful man.
Perhaps someone of advanced age you have known for years.
Did you just see Maduro, Venezuela? It's unbelievable, Venezuela.
Of course, we all have our goofs. But consistently odd behavior can be a sign of frontotemporal dementia, a degenerative disease of the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain that dramatically impairs cognitive function. And there are some key signs to look out for, like slurring words.
The failing New York Times by anonymous, really anonymous.
Struggling to find the correct words is another sign.
The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges of the investigation.
You may also notice someone veering into incoherent ideas, detached from reality.
You know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark.
Or an inability to complete simple sentences.
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
Other notable symptoms include impaired motor function, such as a wavering limb, and decreased balance, often accompanied by a signature lean or arched stance. If someone you know is demonstrating several or all of these symptoms, they are seriously unwell. As a matter of safety, they must be relieved of critical responsibilities and disqualified from any position of authority. Remember, frontotemporal dementia is a degenerative disease. Cognitive function will never return and will only deteriorate further. Don't ignore the signs.
Yeah, so I'm trying to be transparent with you all that I get the uncomfortable nature of merging sort of glitch with what is a serious discussion and something that has consequences that are massive. And so it's been said, doing my best, right? Because Saudi Arabia and Russia, it is just sort of silly. Or the oranges, what is the word I'm trying to say? Or rebuttal. And so there is a funny element to it, but then also you have reporting like this. Experts are desperate, Salon reports, to warn the public. Hundreds sign Dr. John Gartner's Trump dementia petition. They see the signs of Trump's cognitive decline through the eyes of years of training and experience. Since at least 2016, a brave, determined, and stalwart group of psychologists and other mental health professionals have been trying to warn the public about Donald Trump's obvious unwellness and pathological behavior based on mountains of public evidence of Trump's behavior and what he's encouraged in others. These mental health experts concluded that the corrupt, twice impeached ex-president and sexual assaulter, as confirmed by a court of law, aspiring dictator and defendant who is now facing hundreds of years in prison, appears to be a sociopath, if not a full-on psychopath. Whoa! Right? I know. Okay? And this is from the author's perspective. Then they'll quote what has been said, and I'll play you some of what has been said by the expert. And I think that's the best way to do this. In following through on their ethical obligations, the duty to warn the public about the uniquely powerful and dangerous person such as Donald Trump, these mental health professionals risk their careers, reputations, yes, even personal safety. If members of Congress, then President Trump's cabinet officials, senior law enforcement, and others with the power to contain the dangerous ex-president had listened to them and acted accordingly, the country would not be on the precipice of Trump's return to power, where he will, as threatened and promised, become America's first dictator. As seen in the last few weeks and months, Donald Trump's dangerousness is rapidly escalating. At his rallies and other events, Donald Trump is exhibiting obvious and repeated examples of challenges in his speech, language, and memory. In a widely read series of conversations here at Salon, Dr. John Gartner, who is a prominent psychologist and contributor to the best-selling book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, 27 psychiatrists and mental health experts assess the president, has been warning that Trump is apparently suffering from dementia or some other type of brain disease. And I'll read more from this, but first let's hear directly from John Gartner, and then we'll talk about how people have signed on to say we support this message.
Okay, by a kind of whataboutism. The narrative in the media, two old men are running for president.
And this is, as we looked at before, friend of the show, David Pakman's interview with John Gartner.
President. Is either of them really up to it? And there's a certain amount of ageism actually implied in that, meaning that if you're old and you're showing some signs of an aging brain, you're really not up to it. But what I'm saying is we're not making the differential diagnosis between an aging brain and a dementing brain. There's a big difference. Okay. And Trump is showing the kind of confusion, not just of memory, but of language. He's showing a basic breakdown. And this is what all of the experts are telling me in his ability to use language. First of all, we're noticing an enormous regression. This is someone who used to be very articulate, with a sophisticated vocabulary, who spoke in complete, polished sentences and paragraphs. Now he has an impoverished vocabulary.
And we'll come back to this. Just want to sort of bounce around and keep it interesting. But I know some people would go, that's not true, about what Gartner's saying right now about Trump's past vocabulary, speech, ability, etc. When you watch old interviews of Trump, it is freaky how much more effective he is in speaking. At the time of this writing, as Salon continues, hundreds of verified mental health and other medical professionals have signed the petition that Dr. John Gartner put up. This group includes some of the leading experts in their respective disciplines. Some of these signers have also offered detailed comments about what they have concluded based on the obvious evidence is Donald Trump's increasing cognitive difficulties and why he is therefore unfit for office. So another thing we should remember before playing more from Dr. John Gartner is that without any mental decline whatsoever, zero, I would have the case would be just as strong, seemingly, that Trump should be nowhere near the White House, that he's unfit to be president. Because at his sharpest, we've seen Trump's willingness to do horrific things. And so he should not be president regardless. So this is not the debate that should decide the election. But it should be noted that when you take someone who's so clearly dangerous and then you deteriorate them further mentally, their critical thinking worsens. Their judgment worsens from an already dangerous place. Now we're talking about a real crisis, even beyond the one that already existed. And that, I think, is why Dr. John Gartner and the hundreds of people signing on to this petition, again, verified experts in these fields, why they're so concerned. Because it's not just someone in your life. It's not just a celebrity who is living their life. It's someone who could become the most powerful person in the world. And what upsets Dr. John Gartner, as he says in this interview a lot, is that because of this false equivalency between Biden and Trump, and because Biden shows more of your typical just an aging guy sort of stuff, speaking quietly sometimes, mumbling occasionally. He also has had a lifelong stutter, so you throw that into it, and little gaffes, and sort of people will criticize the way that he walks. But what has been time and time again explained by these professionals is that is just that's just a person aging, and that doesn't affect their ability to govern and think sharply and have the critical thinking skills necessary to be president. And actually, the experience that comes along with those years can be very beneficial in the office of the presidency. But something different's happening with Trump's brain, is what is being mentioned here, of course.
He repeats himself and uses superlatives, which are also signs of dementia, and he can't complete a thought or can't even complete a word. And this gets to what I call the neurological smoking gun. Okay. All of the experts I talked to said nobody without brain damage commits these kinds of phonemic paraphasias, which we have dozens of examples of these, blooper reels and whatnot. Instead of saying missiles, he says mishes. Instead of saying Christmas, he says Christus. These are non-words that he's using in place of real words that have the stem of the real word, but he's unable to complete the word, so he just kind of garbles an ending. And there's lots of blooper reel.
And I will, if I can remember, link this this full interview. It's fascinating, the entire thing, in the description of this video. And Dr. John Gartner's out there publicly on different platforms making these points, and just really brave to do what he's doing. And if I forget to put this in the description, which I often do, you can just search it up easily. But we talk a lot about how, with Trump's fitness for the presidency, a huge giveaway that Trump has this issue in terms of being dangerous to be in the office of the presidency, whereas Biden doesn't, is even if we disagree on our observation of the two, you have person after person who left the Trump administration saying, this guy's so dangerous, he's so unfit, please don't let him in the White House. Whereas Biden, you haven't found a single person who comes out and leaks to the press that there was some issue, that they were horrified by what they saw, that he wasn't cognitively able to function. Nobody. But tons of people coming out of the Trump administration saying that. So that's a huge thing. And similarly, you can't find this. Mental health professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, experts in the relevant field coming out and saying this about Biden. But now you have hundreds about Trump. So that's a huge takeaway too. Don't let the fact that Biden is normally aging dissuade you from focusing on what is clearly the more concerning phenomenon cognitively in this race, which is the Republican nominee. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments. If you want to watch, please do, if you haven't already, our Racing Wisconsin Trump supporter interview video. It was crazy, and lots of work went into it. So if you haven't already, like I said, you can click there to watch it, and you can get the daily bonus show by clicking the join button below.